Okay, so I was listening. I just did this thing about 3 weeks ago about um, the contradictions of the Bible and Adam and Eve. And I was sitting up here on a Saturday, December the 14th, listening to YP, Young Pharaoh. Go check him out and his teachings. But also go check out my Adam and Eve part 1 and part 2. So he just getting into the anatomy of the Adam and Eve and the construction and so on and so forth. So
Physical. So metaphysics is the study of non-tangible existence. So basically anything underneath the vibratory state of 432 terahertz frequency. Anything that vibrates to 432 terahertz frequency and higher becomes physical. So radio waves fluctuate underneath 432 terahertz frequency, but those particular waveforms are the source of all organisms' intelligence. So with that being said, that is metaphysics. So what we have to understand is when they said Eve came from Adam's rib, okay, they were talking about the mitochondrial Eve gene. The black woman comes from DNA. And as you can see, this is a pictorial representation of a rib, and this is what your DNA helix looks like. Your DNA looks like a rib, okay? And so atoms, as you can see, vibrate into
it's
molecules.
probably gonna have to
Then
be
they
a
become
one and
cells.
two.
Cells become tissues. Tissues become organs. Organs become organ systems. And organ systems become organisms. So we know that the first known organism was a black woman, aka the mitochondrial Eve gene, which vibrated, okay, and manifested into existence from atoms. So when they say Eve was made from Adam's rib, they're talking about the mitochondrial Eve gene, aka the gene that's responsible for all black people on the planet today, was manifested out of the universe through the fluctuation of atoms. So first of all, that is why the story is so inconsistent and it doesn't make sense when you think about a woman coming from a man's rib, despite the fact that we can clearly see that everybody on the planet, including the woman
Comes from
herself,
a woman.
has a damn umbilical cord.
Mm.
And so we have to put the story in its proper perspective. So when it says God made Eve from Adam's rib, that is totally incorrect if you're reading it from a non, let's say, esoteric perspective. Now, let's keep it moving. Let's keep it moving. The Adam and Eve story is a lie, part two. Clearly, we can see two chromosomes here. Now, this pink chromosome is the chromosome of the woman. This blue chromosome is the chromosome of the male. Clearly, we can see that this pink chromosome is 2.8 times larger than its blue cell.
Mm-hmm.
And so this chromosome on the left is called a metacentric chromosome, meaning equal in all lengths of strands. This is a submetacentric chromosome, meaning that certain lengths of strands were substituted out. So clearly we can see that you can't get this from this. You can
Not a
never get
penis.
the greater from the lesser.
Right.
You only can get the lesser from the
From the
greater.
greater
And so we can see
physics.
genetically and biologically that woman could not have came from man. And that man only could have came from woman. And so, the beginning of the book is very critical. And I'm going to tell you why. Because if Adam and Eve never happened, then the rest of the motherfucking book never happened. So technically, there's even no reason for me to do the rest of this goddamn PowerPoint because we just smashed the Bible before it can even get started. We just ripped it out the roots. And so Genesis, meaning the origin and production of something, this is why all creation stories take place in the book of Genesis. If there were no descendants of Adam and Eve because Adam and Eve never happened, then the Bible never happened. In some case, motherfucking closed. And so, as I just said, I don't even need to finish this goddamn PowerPoint because the battle's already won. And so everything from this point on is just, slaughterhouse damage. Now let's keep it kicking. Let's keep it kicking. Demonizing the matriarch. Okay? Woman. Now let's go. The Bible has literally blamed all the world's problems on women. Now let's talk about this, right? Let's talk about this. Because the Bible is used to propagate and push patriarch ideology, meaning man first. It excludes the woman out of the Trinity, etc. I'm going to be going into that later, but I'm just laying my foundation right now. The Bible totally excludes, rebukes, and demonizes feminine energy, aka anything that has to deal with the matriarch. Now, with that being said, listen to the story. There were two trees in the garden. Not one, there were two. There was the tree of life, which would grant Adam and Eve immortality if they ate from it. And there was the tree of knowledge, which would grant Adam and Eve immortality if they ate from it. And so, with that being said, the Bible tells you that a woman disobeyed God, okay, who was a man, because he's the father, listened to the serpent, ate from the tree of knowledge, okay, and then convinced her husband, who was a man, to disobey the Almighty God. So not only did she disobey the divine rule of a divine male entity, she manipulated her husband into doing so as well. And because of her, the whole world is cursed. This is why women get their menstruation and all kinds of shit. And so before I go on, I want to talk about the psychological effects of being a Christian woman, especially a black woman, because we know that black people were here first. So even if you don't know science, if you just read the Bible and they tell you Adam and Eve were the first people here, by default, you're going to accredit those people to being black. And so basically, you can blame black women for the reason that the world is fucked up. And so, is this a subconscious uh, justification for why black women are demonized and treated so shitty around the world? Could religion, specifically Christianity, be the number one guise of using spirituality as an alleged divine reason for oppressing black women, for treating black women like they can't listen, like they're so hard-headed, and just putting their foot down on the black woman's neck constantly? Because when you teach this to a little girl, if you have a 10-year-old daughter and this is what you subscribe her to, how is she supposed to feel about herself? How is she supposed to love herself when you just told her that God punished her because she fucked the whole world up? And the whole world is in sin right now because she ate a fucking apple. So, first of all, the initial groundwork being laid by religion is nothing more than a wedge within the black household. Because now the man feels some sense of entitlement, but also he feels some sense of spiritual betrayal by his black woman. Because if God made Adam in charge of watching over the Garden of Eden, and he made the black woman from Adam's rib, and the black woman went behind Adam's back and motherfucking listened to the devil and disobeyed her own man, that means she didn't respect his authority. So not only didn't the black woman respect God's authority, she didn't respect his authority. And so now we have a story that is subconsciously implicating the black woman as being not only undivine, but non-cooperative with her black man, so much and so forth that she would do it in the eyes of God himself. So if the black woman wouldn't listen to God, why the fuck would she listen to you, black man? And so with that being said, this story is garbage for so many reasons. But I want to make that point, drastically clear, because this is why Christianity has not only the highest rate of homosexual men, this is why it also has the highest rate of single black women. Because no man, no Christian man who submits to the will of God wants to be with a woman who would not only disobey God, but would disobey him. And so you can see the motherfucking rabbit trail. If
Okay, I'm gonna just stop it right there before I lose my train of thought. Right there, so we've been given this book that if you follow these instructions, follow everything that it says in there, that you will go on to some type of heaven. You know, y'all been bamboozled, okay? Which YP makes a very good valid point or whatever. Just think about it. Like, can I just do that? Just go to my part 1 and 2, Adam and Eve or whatever. Man can't have us. We can have male and female. Okay? We are the gods. As soon as y'all get that understood or whatever, you know what I'm saying, then you'll understand. So, you know, reaching what type of God will, first and foremost, and my point is that being all knowing, because if I had, even with the little information that I have, there are certain things that I'm not going to do as long as I'm living. I don't care what's going on, how bad it gets for me. It's just certain things that I'm not going to do. And so if I know something with a child that I created, that I had, and I'm going to sacrifice his being or their being to of deception, of being tricked, or if I get a whiff of something that's going to happen to them bad or whatever, you don't think that I'm going to intervene? So why wouldn't God, all knowing, why would he put a stop to any of that? How could a snake deceive a human? How? It ain't like they talking to our asses. And this is what I said in the beginning or whatever. I like snakes. I'm not afraid of snakes. Then hell snakes and all type of stuff. Um, yes, they are dangerous. Like any species, like any human. Our defense mechanism is, if we're being threatened, we're going to do everything in our power to attack. And even, for that matter, being killed. So, to go on to say that, that the woman caused all of this, it's just ludicrous to me. Okay?
And from there, we can catch the rabbit. And so when we want to talk about why is the black household so dysfunction, look at the level of spirituality. Okay, why are black people who subscribe to Christianity so dysfunction and disunited in our households if there's even both parents in the household? And so the
Right.
groundwork for belief
Let me stop right there too.
is
Let me stop right
more.
there. And that just brought me up to something too. Even when, like, if y'all go back and y'all listen to some of my commentary, even when I was going to church, and I stayed in a household with a male and a female, although they weren't my biological mother and father, they were my grandmother and my grandfather. And when I say that, that was her son, his mother, okay, that raised me. So, second of all, every time, my grandmother was the mother of the church. We went to church like everybody says, all week, twice on Sunday sometimes. Um, my grandfather didn't budge, and my grandmother knew that. He didn't want to go to church. And what just young P just said, the division with the family or whatever, you know what I mean? Because of what they're being taught. How can you teach somebody that in all actuality you're not really living? The churches are not really living this stuff. They're not. So what they're doing is selling you something and you're buying into it.
More dangerous than you can even fathom. Because it's not what you consciously understand, it's what you subconsciously don't understand that is happening to you. And so I went over here and I pulled up the definition of the word
Subconsciously don't
curse.
understand.
Okay? Now I don't know if y'all can see this at home, but I'm gonna point it out for y'all at the bottom. Right here says curse, right? Well, I'm gonna start at the top. Curse. A solemn utterance intended to invoke a supernatural power to inflict harm or punishment on someone or something. Definition number 2, a cause of harm or misery. Definition number 3, menstruation. Do you hear that, Queen? I want all the queens to get this. Do you know that the word menstruation is
Men.
considered a noun and a definitive term in the word curse? And if you don't believe me, I'll read it. When you look at the definition of curse, It says menstruation. And when you go to what they mean by that, it says the curse.
Man, I just wrote something down.
This
Hold
is
on.
also
Menstruation. Look, they got a key power word right there. Men. Okay.
Because remember, Islam is nothing more than an Arabic version of Christianity. Don't get it twisted, okay? And so that being said, Islam also teaches that motherfucking the woman is cursed and is unholy during her menstruation cycle. And she's not allowed to come into mosques. She's not allowed to come into any of the ceremonial places while she's on her menstruation cycle. And
Can't sit
so
on nothing.
the Adam and Eve story is what laid the groundwork.
I'm sorry, because these are my key points or whatever, even though I ain't write nothing down. But even with the menstruation or whatever, yes, when we bleed or whatever and our cycle comes, and sometimes for me, it was 3. And or sometimes 7 days, a whole week. Sometimes women go through menstruals longer than that, and they are almost worse than labor pains. But in the Bible, it says that you should not touch, sit, or anything, because if you do, you're unclean too. And I think it's something like you're not supposed to touch that person for like 7 days or something, right? The women, for 7 days. If you do, you're unclean. So, and I'm just gonna put myself out here to say, how many of us female, and I'm talking to the females right now, how many of us females didn't have sex on our menstrual? And what didn't happen? How many men knew that a female was on her menstrual and still partaketh?
Groundwork for all of that. And so we have to understand fully why this story is not
Oh, this
only
camera rolling good. It's giving me a lot of time today.
scientifically and genetically incorrect. We have to understand why this shit is morally and psychologically and lovingly incorrect. And so God has cursed our woman. So why have we not forsaken that God? Do you love a God that will sacrifice his own son more than you love your motherfucking mama, who sacrificed everything she had to lovingly raise you as her own son? Your mama has been to your aid more than God has ever been to Jesus' aid. And as Seti stated before, on our live stream we did, Jesus didn't even know why his father had forsaken him. And so Jesus was born in order to die for the sins of the world, but he himself didn't even have this knowledge. So to Jesus, he was just born to help motherfucker. He didn't know that he was being crucified for the stupid shit that God said Eve did. And so, with that being said, God sacrificed his own son against his son's own free will and didn't even come to the man's aid when he called out to him. Your mother has been working triples and doubles, has been through slavery, has been abused, has been through the treacheries that this world has had to offer her. And you can't even stop using the B word towards her. You can't even stop putting your motherfucking hands on. You can't even provide for your motherfucking children physically, if not financially. You can't even just be in your goddamn children's presence because you can't get along with your black woman. And so, with that being said, not only is this story critical because it taught us that the black woman turned her back on God and you, it has now influenced you to turn your motherfucking back on her. And so, before I go into this lecture, you damn fucking right I'm spending some time on this slide. Because out of all of the shit you gonna hear, this is probably the most important shit you need to hear. Okay? Because we're talking about the restoration of the black household. Without that, you don't have no powerhouse. You don't have no power source. If these two entities cannot learn to once again be united, then there is no even cause for unification within the community. And with that being said, we're going to keep it moving now. Straight the fuck up. Being born in sin. Okay? Because not only did God say that, due to Eve the world is now in sin.
Right.
Okay?
Gotta stop. Another point. Right. How are we in our mom's wombs sinless? We ain't doing nothing but in there living. We ain't even made it to the world yet. So, how are we born into sin? We don't know how to walk. We don't know how to talk. All we know how to do is cry, pee in a pamper, and drink a bottle. That's it. We are oblivious to what the freak is going on in this universe. Crazy.
But generations and her descendants have now been born in sin. So not only is your great, 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 great spiritual grandmother the reason for sin in the world, but now you, as her child descendant, have been cursed to live in sin because of what she did. And we're going to talk about what she did in detail at the end of this lecture. But with that being said, look, they say that sin is what separates us from God. Now, what is sin? Anything opposite of God's law. Okay? So, how are you born in sin when you haven't even done anything? What has a newborn child done that can be considered a sin? When you come out the womb, you can't even talk. How you gonna be cursed and you can't even motherfucking curse yet? Huh? How you gonna be evil and you have no knowledge or concept of what evil is? You don't even know what death is. You don't even know what fire is, let alone the concept of going to hell. So how can you be born in sin when you have no concept of evil? So at this point in time, technically, a baby is holier than God himself. Because God not only knows evil, he himself has stated that good and evil, he has created both and does both things. The baby has done no evil at this time. The most your baby gonna do is cry because he wants some milk or she wants some milk. So at this point in time, when you come out of the womb, technically the baby is holier than God. The baby ain't sacrificed his son yet. The baby has not lied to Adam and Eve about becoming intelligent. The baby has not flooded the earth and killed millions of people. Okay? The baby has not gave the Israelites permission to be pedophiles and rape little girls, which we're going to talk about in this lecture. And so, at this point in time, how can you be born in sin when at this point you are more pure than the one who deemed you sinful? So the one who cursed you himself has the curse. Straight the fuck up. And so we going into that. We going in. God sinned first by knowingly creating evil. Okay? Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. King James Bible. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Okay? I, the Lord, do all these things. Now, why is this important? Why would you create evil and wickedness and then punish your creation for being so? So here's Eve being tricked by the serpent to eat the apple from the tree of knowledge. But God is the one who created the serpent, who created the devil. God is the one who created the tree for her not to eat from. Okay?
Yeah,
so
why were you creating
evil,
that?
and she fell victim to evil, why would you curse her for falling victim to something that you created? Would you fucking put down a mouse trap and put cheese in the mouse trap? And then when the mouse go get caught and snapped in the trap, would you say, mouse, I cursed you and all your fucking descendants for getting caught in my mouse trap? If the government brings drugs and guns in this bitch, okay, we upset right now because they're not taking no blame, because the Clinton administration and the Reagan administration is not taking no blame for all the drugs they brought in and then started the war on drugs and locked niggas up. We're mad at them for doing the same shit that God did. They ain't do nothing but act like the God that they
Emulated.
And
What
so
was
my thing is,
presented.
if God, okay, makes peace and creates evil, and I, the Lord, do all these things, then why is the Lord not considered